this around. You've done these before, right?
Yeah.
Podcasts, plenty of stuff.
You could.
You're the first media mogul I've had on here.
No, far from it. Yeah.
I mean, it's like talk about big fish in a small pond.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, it's embarrassing, but anyway.
Where you been and where you going? This is Ari's travel show. Yeah, we're gonna talk about travel today. It's You Be Trippin. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to You Be Trippin. It's a travel podcast. Every week, me and a guest go to some far-off place in the world where they've been to tell me about their experiences there. It's the only podcast that has never played a part in the assassination of any British writer. Guest today is Saad Mohseni. He just wrote this book, Radio Free Afghanistan. Pretty cool to write a book. Is this your first one?
Probably first and last. I had help, of course, as you can see.
Yeah, Jenna Krajewski.
Yes.
Is that hard, having a woman help you in Afghanistan?
Well, she helped me outside. No, it's not actually.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay. So the first time I heard about you was through Yoshi,
Yes.
our buddy.
Our mutual friend.
Yeah, one of the wildest guys on the planet.
We can do an entire episode about Yoshi.
Just Yoshi, yeah.
Just Yoshi. Episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but he told me he went to Kabul. He was like, dude, you'd love it there. It's this occupied area. They were like, please bring. He said, what can I bring? He goes, bring 2 bottles of Jack Daniels. We got to have a bar. And he goes, there's this guy, Saad, who's like, he runs a newspaper there, and he's always coming under attack of everybody local, and he's just the coolest guy. He'll put you up in his house.
You should have.
I know.
You still can.
So how is it now compared to how it was in occupation? Because once they were like, they pulled out, Kabul's gone within like a minute.
Yeah.
I was like, shit, I guess that trip's over.
No, actually, Kabul fell before the Americans had pulled out.
Oh, really?
So the Americans had pledged in April of 2021 to leave by the end of August, so 4 months.
Oof.
And then by mid-August, the government collapsed. The Americans were still in Kabul, and there was this uneasy peace between the Taliban and the Americans.
What do you mean the Americans? You're not talking about the military?
The military.
The military.
So the military had a presence at the airport.
Yeah.
So everyone rushed to the airport, including embassy staff and Afghans who'd worked for the Americans, members of civil society who feared that they would be attacked. So the Taliban took over the city. The Americans had tens of thousands of troops at the airport trying to protect it. And the Taliban allowed them to evacuate all these people over a 2-week period. So literally a couple of 100,000 people flew out of Kabul in those 2 weeks.
Damn.
And then at the end of August, the Americans left for good.
And then how was it?
And then it's...
You were there before. You're Afghani?
I'm Afghan, yes. I was born outside of Afghanistan because my father was an Afghan diplomat.
Okay.
So I was born in London 58 years ago. And but I went back to Kabul when I was 3, and we were, back and forth. And then when the Russians invaded, we decided not to go back. We were living in Japan at the time.
Right. I didn't even think about the Russians.
Yes. So the Russians invaded in late 79. We were based in Tokyo. And then from Japan, we moved to Australia. And as such, I'm a dual Afghan-Australian national.
Really? This is long history of like higher-ups and leaders in all sorts of fields getting educated in Great Britain or the U.S.
Yes.
Like taking that education, then going back.
Yeah.
I think even all the communists and like the Latin American countries,
Yeah.
like a lot of the smart ones were like
Yes.
learned here and then like took that thinking and like changed it for them.
Yeah, it's ironic because if you look at the Russian or Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, Afghans never felt compelled. They never felt the need to leave the country.
Interesting.
So people are very comfortable living in their own countries. And I think this whole issue of immigration, which is such an important issue today in the U.S., also in Europe. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was sort of non-existent in those days, especially in the Middle East and Central Asia.
This issue of what?
This issue of immigration.
Oh, right.
Right? I mean, it's governments are basically parties are losing power in Europe, even in the U.S. I mean, immigration is a very, very important issue to your voters.
Protecting our way of life. pretty funny too when Shohei Ohtani, baseball player, follow baseball.
Of course, yeah.
So this
love
guy
baseball.
Stephen A. Smith goes, I don't like it. I don't like that he's here because it's like this non-English speaker. It's kind of ruining things. And everybody goes, the Dominicans are like half our league.
Yes.
And they're learning as they come. Like, what are you talking about? He goes, oh yeah, I guess you're right.
And when I was young, living in Japan, there were a lot of Americans playing baseball in Japan.
Oh, really?
Who didn't speak Japanese.
Yeah, exactly. Like, figure it out. The pitch is coming. You don't have
and
to.
a lot of sumo wrestlers are now foreign. They're
Yeah.
Polynesians, or and
I remember
those-
that white guy, and everyone in Japan was like, "No fucking way!
Yeah.
You can't be a champ."
I remember Jesse. I can't remember his full name, but Jesse was. I think he was the first American from Hawaii who became a champion. I don't think he was a grand champion. He was a champion, so the second category champion.
Really?
But I remember him well because his son went to our school. If you look up Jesse,
This guy,
yeah.
Jesse, sumo superstar. Okay, at least he looks the part.
Well, they all do. You have to.
Yeah. No, I mean the eyes, not the fat. Obviously the fat.
Well, he's Hawaiian.
Yeah.
He may be indigenous Hawaiian.
So we're gonna talk about Afghanistan today.
Please.
What
yeah.
is this book? What is this book about? About starting this.
So we were living in Australia, and
Yeah.
when the Americans invaded,
Yeah.
and the Taliban.
Why did the Americans invade? Sorry, I'm gonna ask questions and interrupt. It's way too much.
Well,
But Russia's gone.
9/11. Well, Russia. So Russia. So Soviet Union invades Afghanistan with 120,000 troops. They stay for 10 years, almost 10 years.
Can't take it.
Can't take it. Huge, obviously, reputational damage. They lost a lot of troops. And then Gorbachev decides it's too expensive. It's too costly for us in terms of.
Yeah.
So Afghanistan's there,
Yeah.
right? So the Soviet Union invades.
Were they always big there? Were they already? Did they
Yeah,
have
they're
all this?
all the way up there. Yeah.
Okay.
All of Central Asia. So Gorbachev decides it's too much for us, reputational, dollar-wise. So they decide to leave in 1989.
Okay.
A civil war. So the groups which were supported by the Americans, for the Americans it was convenient to have the Islamists fight the Soviets.
Keep them occupied.
To keep on, they fought well. They were committed to it. They were driven by ideology. So the Americans and the Saudis and others pumped billions of dollars into the country, and they helped these Islamists. And that, in a lot of ways, radicalized the entire region because people indoctrinated in this sort of extreme fundamentalist views of Islam were attracted to this holy war. And then, of course, when the Soviets left, the Americans said, well done. We're out of here, basically. And they completely disengaged. Then these groups, which had fought the Russians, started fighting each other.
For 12 years.
Well, for 3 years.
Okay.
Right? From 1989 till 90. Well, they initially fought the Afghan communist regime, which basically.
And these are all groups fighting separately against the Russians?
So the Russians leave.
Yeah.
But the government, which was supported by the Russians, a communist regime, managed to hold on for another 3 years.
Okay.
Right? Eventually, that government also fell. Then these Islamists, these different Islamic groups, religious groups that had fought the Russians and the Soviets, they took power in 1992. And then for the next 3 years, they fought each other. Completely
Okay.
destroyed the city of Kabul, 50,000 dead, hundreds of thousands injured, perhaps hundreds of thousands of people had to flee the city. And then in 1995, this group called the Taliban, religious students, march right through Afghanistan, take over the country, pretty much almost unopposed.
Like Pol Pot almost?
Well, I mean, there was they
In terms of the march.
in terms of the march. Well, I'm not that familiar with Pol
Okay.
Pot and Cambodia, but they came pretty much unopposed because I
Yeah.
think there was fatigue in terms of fighting, and also
Oh,
they
right.
represented something new because they said, "Listen, enough of the fighting, enough of the cruelty that we've witnessed over the last few years.
This is the Taliban?
This is the Taliban." So they took over the city, and with the exception of the northeast of the country, pretty much the rest of the country fell to the Taliban.
Okay.
But they also attracted a lot of these other non-Afghan individuals and groups, including Osama bin Laden.
What was he?
Well, he was living in Afghanistan, but I think that he became sort of a lot more active during the Taliban reign in the mid-90s.
Okay.
You know, forces loyal to him or his supporters attacked embassies in Africa. A U.S. naval ship was attacked.
Why? Because the radicalism like extended beyond the Afghan borders?
Well, I think bin Laden basically was on the same side as the Americans because he went into Afghanistan to fight the Soviets.
Okay.
With the support, of course, of the Americans. Maybe not directly, but they were all on the same side. I think bin Laden's issue with the Americans was the invasion of Iraq in 1991.
Okay.
Right? So bin Laden felt, as a Saudi, that the Americans should not be on Saudi soil because the Americans had to base themselves from, you know, and the large operation was conducted from Saudi Arabia, if you recall, to liberate Kuwait in 1991.
Right. I remember that one. I remember the attack overnight and was like, what?
Yes, over there. So, and then...
Iraq, Kuwait, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then bin Laden turns against the Americans. And in the mid-90s, if you recall, embassies were attacked in Africa.
That was bin Laden?
That was bin Laden's group, Al-Qaeda. And I think a naval ship was attacked in Yemen and so forth. So the American, he became sort of enemy number one. And then 9/11 happened. And it was traced back to bin Laden. And then the Americans gave the Taliban an ultimatum to give him up. And the Taliban refused to do so. They said, well, he's our guest, and well, as long as he's here, we don't condone his actions, but at the same time, so we're not going to give him up.
So Taliban is like the greater government?
The Taliban is the government.
Is the government, and then Al-Qaeda is just some group?
They're, you know, like quote-unquote guests.
Right.
They have fighters, they do training.
So this would be like if let's say I had a cyber attack on Cambodia, and then Cambodia's like, we want to arrest him. America's like, no, we're not sending him to Cambodia. That's a U.S. citizen.
Well, you're a citizen,
right?
But bin Laden was not an Afghan citizen.
Okay.
Right? But they refused to give him up. And then the Americans, I think the Americans were itching for a fight anyway, so they invade Afghanistan.
And when you look at Vietnam, they were like, the French left, and the Americans like, give us a few years, we're going in. If you're gone, there's always these power struggles, and like once one group comes out, like who's gonna get it?
Yes.
You know, when East Timor, when the Portuguese pulled out, Indonesia waited like 10 minutes, and they're like, it's ours.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's because I think people don't think through these operations. The assumption is it's going to be over within a year or 2 years.
But you look at the Russians couldn't take it forever.
And the Brits. Prior to that.
It's every time I see a pizza place open in a place where a closed pizza place was, and I'm like, are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
The model doesn't work in this building. Well, how are you going to do it differently?
Yes.
Open a bookstore.
Was it Einstein who said that, you know, definition of stupid is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Yeah. Guys, I got to interrupt for a second. I got to tell you about Saad's book, Ready You a Free Afghanistan. This has got to be the first guest I've had that has a book. No, Russell Peters wrote a book. But it wasn't out right now. It wasn't like new. Radio Free Afghanistan. It's all about his journey, trying to start this media company in a country where he's coming under constant attacks. Some of his employees were killed. I shouldn't take that lightly, but it's crazy. I'm just saying that's probably not what's in Russell Peters' book. Probably different story is what I'm saying. From Russell Peters, having a great time on the road, to Saad Mohseni, who had employees killed. Radio Free Afghanistan. It's available right now wherever you buy books, and there'll be a link for it at the bottom of the Spotify page or the YouTube page, wherever you're watching or listening. Are there only two places? Are there other places? Guys, my farewell tour. Well, first and foremost, I got to tell you once again, get ready and set your calendars for January 14th. My new special, America's Sweetheart, will be premiering on Netflix.com. Set your TiVos and record it right there at Netflix.com. If you're still on the dropship subscription where they send you CDs, I would get in the queue now because it might kind of build up once January 14th happens. You want to get it ahead of time. I don't know how that works. I don't know if they'll send it on the 12th and so you get it on the 14th, or they'll send it on the 14th, you get it afterwards. I'm not sure, but what I'm talking about doesn't exist anymore. So let's be done with this joke. My farewell tour is on sale right now at arishaffir.com, as well as my merchandise, T-shirts, vinyls, grinders, stuff you want. Tahoe, Pittsburgh. I'm just going to do it by memory. Tahoe, Pittsburgh. Some of these will be with Adrian Appalucci. This should all be marked on there at arishaffir.com. Pittsburgh, Providence, sold out. Austin sold out. Sorry, also. Tahoe is December 21st in Lake Tahoe, Nevada. First time there. Providence, Tampa, Denver, San Antonio, San Jose, Schaumburg, Illinois. I think that's it for clubs. I'm missing one. And then the big theaters, Atlanta, the Tabernacle in March. April, and then Portland. Both of those will be with Adrian Appalucci. Portland, and then Seattle, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton. Tickets are low in all those. Hurry up and get tickets at arishaffir.com. Also Fort Lauderdale and Orlando. I think Orlando's sold out. We already had a second show. I think it's sold out. There will be no more shows added. No room for it. And I think that's it. Go to arishaffir.com for tickets. I know I'm leaving something out. Nashville. Adrian Appalucci will be there too. Guys, let's get back to the episode. Thank you, Saad, for coming in. At the end of the episode, I just got some new... Cambodia. I got some new postcards that I'll be reading on the air. Stay tuned for the outro. That's it. Let's get back to the episode.
So the Taliban were toppled by this huge military, let's call it exercise. The international community sort of supported this operation.
You're there for this?
No, I wasn't there in 2001. I went for the first time in 2002.
Okay.
I had not been back since 1978.
Wow.
So we went back. The Taliban basically dispersed. They went to the countryside, or they went to neighboring countries, in particular Pakistan. And then the Americans initially were reluctant to go beyond Kabul. They thought, well, this is a success. And then these things creep up on you, right? So then they deploy troops outside the country. You know, we have to destroy Al-Qaeda. They're chasing bin Laden. And all of a sudden...
Pakistan.
And then all of a sudden, they're, you know, very, very involved in security and subsidizing the Afghan economy, trying to rebuild this nation. Nation building is a tough exercise, especially in the 21st century.
Yeah.
So then 20 years on, you know, having lost thousands of troops, $1 trillion.
So many dead soldiers.
And I think both...
So many dead civilians, too.
A lot of Afghans died in that period. Cities were destroyed. Towns were destroyed. People's lives destroyed. By both sides. I mean, it wasn't just the Americans, but the other side also was quite brutal. And then the Americans decided to leave, which is understandable after 20 years. It's America's longest war.
Oh.
So Trump wanted that, and Biden also wanted that, and the Americans are gone. And the Taliban take over.
Okay, we saw it here as this massive, like, what the fuck? I know people that were in the military, they're like, what? I got to talk to all my brothers and say, like, we fought for nothing and don't feel bad. But, like, yeah, what? And it seems like such a waste. I mean, immediately the Taliban took over. But we viewed them as not this, like, government group. We viewed them as this evil. They're almost synonymous with Al-Qaeda and ISIS. The Taliban was used interchangeably here.
Yeah, well...
To someone like me, to a non-expert.
I mean, I don't know who it was who said that, it's just the way a terrorist is sometimes a freedom fighter and vice versa, right? So we just have to wait for the history books.
Yeah. Yeah, the word insurgent's so interesting.
Yeah.
Insurgent, like, what do you mean? Like, he killed an American troop. Like, why are we even at his house?
Yeah.
It's just like, just don't be there.
I mean, listen, we were cheerleaders for the international intervention because we felt, well, there's this evil government needs to be toppled. But looking back now and reflecting on what we saw over the 20-year period, we see things differently. I see things differently.
So you come in and then you just what do you do? What are you going there for?
Well, I listen. A lot of us Afghans, my father was a diplomat. We never, for example, a lot of people immigrate to a country, right? And then you understand you're of Italian heritage, but you become an American.
Yeah.
You want your kids to become Americans, and you never think about going back. But for us, it was very different. We were not sort of the traditional, the immigrant experience that most people have in terms of abandoning their past. That for us was not really the thing, because we always felt that we had to go back to Afghanistan. We sort of never gave up on the idea of returning to the country.
Okay.
So all these years living in Australia, and I lived in London and worked in different places, I always felt if there's an opportunity, I'd like to go back. It's my country.
Yeah, sure.
It's my people. So when the Americans invaded, and then we had the opportunity to go back, which we did in 2002, we went and had a look. And the idea was to invest in a few businesses, like an investor, sort of detached, passive investing in a number of sectors. And there was this opportunity to set up this radio station, which we did. It's called Arman FM.
Yeah.
And then
I got a paperback copy. I knew I had it. Yeah.
And then we set up this radio station, which was hugely popular. And then we set up our second radio network, and then television network, and second television. I mean, we established a whole bunch of businesses inside of Afghanistan, and eventually outside of the country as well.
Yeah. So what was the process like getting in there and starting a radio? Because getting the word out is a massive thing for governments.
Well, there was a radio network, which was the state radio network, like NPR, for example.
Okay.
But we set up this very commercial radio network with music and chit chat and banter and some
Did you have any
news.
problems with like chicks singing?
No, nothing.
Okay.
We were completely free to
And they
play.
didn't bug you?
And they gave us a hard time, because although the Taliban were not there, but people are basically conservative in that country, or were in those days. So it was controversial, but we had some obstacles, but we could really develop that business, and it took off because people like those things. People like music. People like laughter and banter and a fun. You have your own FM networks in this country. We had our morning shows, the afternoon shows. We had people would dial in with their problems.
Oh, really?
We had our own version of Dr. Ruth.
Just regular radio.
Just regular radio, regular music. So it was hugely successful, and we got sucked into the business because we realized we had to be involved in running this business. We couldn't just delegate to someone else. And it was fun. I mean, it was a 20-year exercise. I mean, the business still exists.
Yeah.
All the businesses still operate, but with a lot more restrictions today.
So the government left you alone? For the most part.
For the most part. Well, we always had issues. We had issues with Parliament. We had issues with the government. We had indictments. We had court cases.
What do you mean? What kind of indictments?
This show is against Afghan values and culture, and then some guy would file a case against us, and those sorts of things. And because we also gave the government a hard time, because we had a news network.
Yeah. Would you attack the government?
All the time on corruption, on nepotism, on all sorts of things like that.
That corruption and nepotism, that's one of those things where it's like, I'm not talking about the Islam religion.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, why are you hiring that guy when this guy's better for the position?
Absolutely. But there was also a lot of corruption. When you flood a country with billions of dollars, and that country doesn't have the capacity to absorb that aid, it leads to corruption and mismanagement. So our news network, which is called Tolo News, was very aggressive in terms of pursuing these sorts of stories. So the government would find ways to give us a hard time.
Who'd you hang out with then? Like, who was your crew?
Well, Afghanistan's a fun place.
Yeah.
We had, I'll give you the other one if you want.
Yeah, okay. That'd be easier to pull up. It'll be better on the shot. Yeah, tell me about the place itself and like.
Well,
got into it, like-
Afghanistan is a very, very, it's a friendly place.
Really?
Yoshi's probably told you this as well.
Yeah, but he told me really a version of the like the what are they called? The workers that work for the government that aren't in the government, the U.S. government.
Contractors.
Contractors, yeah.
Yeah.
Government, like that's the crew he was telling me about.
Yeah, because I think he wasn't really exposed to a lot of Afghans. But
Right.
but Afghans generally are a very warm people
Oh, cool.
and very hospitable. You'll hopefully see it for yourself when you
Yeah.
travel there.
Bro, I want to go look really bad.
There's and people who've been exposed to Afghanistan can never let go of the country. I'm talking about non-Afghans. There's the food, the mountains, people's hospitality. There's something just very, I don't think it's sort of you can, words are enough to describe
Yeah.
what you would feel. I
How
asked,
are they with Jews?
they don't care.
They don't care. That seems like that's most of the Middle East. It's this conflation of Israel and the
Yeah.
Jews, where it's like, oh no, you're just a Jew. You're from New York. Who gives a fuck?
People don't care.
Wow, that's nice. Because there's always that second level of like, is it safe? Like, yeah, is it safe for this nose? And they go, oh no.
That's a very Afghan nose. You could easily be an Afghan.
Really? All right.
No, Afghans are very accepting, actually. Now, if you're there proselytizing and trying
Yeah.
to convert people to Christianity, and of course that's against the law, and that's a totally different thing, and people would be suspicious of that.
Yeah, it's when I tell people about China, they're like, well, the government does this and this, and they'll arrest you if you speak out against them. I'm like, I'm not speaking out about the Chinese government. I'm just trying to get street food.
Yes.
Like, that's not my
No,
issue.
I think Afghans you'll discover, I mean, I put this in the book, actually. There's a very well-known war correspondent, John Lee Anderson. And
Okay.
so I asked him, I said, John, you've been to this country many, many times.
Yeah.
What is it about Afghanistan
That keeps them coming back.
that, and he said, the sky is so high. And there's something just wonderful about
The sky is so high. Interesting.
So, I mean, if you can most of Afghanistan is like, I don't know how many feet it is, like 2,000 meters above sea. You're dealing with a very mountainous country.
Damn.
I don't know if that's Afghanistan, but
It says Afghanistan. I don't know.
it says Bamyan. No, that's Bamyan. Sorry. Yeah.
Is that Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Jesus. It's pretty. So it's all mountainous.
So it's very mountainous. It's rugged,
Yeah.
but there's and the people. I think the people really make the country.
Hey guys, today's episode of You Be Trippin is brought to you by UnboundMerino.com. This is a clothing company that Rolf Potts, my buddy, has told me about for a long time. It's lightweight clothing that's stylish and packs up really well in a bag. I mean, lightweight is important. It's warm. They've got that cool wool, and it's light. And when you're traveling, you got a backpack on, you're limited on space. Unbound Merino's clothes take up less space. It's an important thing. They're durable and they're fashionable. It's a travel clothing company made by travelers for travelers. I've talked to the guy who runs the company. He's cool. Rolf loves him. You should too. Unbound's clothing is made of merino wool, which is moisture wicking, temperature regulating, and extra comfortable for all sorts of travel. That merino wool, you don't even have to wash it. Legitimately. It won't get stinky. I don't know how it works. But then it'll dry. You put it on your back of your backpack. You just kind of like, if you just want to water dry it, it like works. It's crazy. It's so cool. Unbound helps travelers pack lighter, save on baggage fees, and take the decision fatigue out of packing with their versatile and timeless pieces. Head over to their website right now at unboundmerino.com, where new customers can use my code TRIPPIN for 10% off their order. Help support them. They're legitimately. They're a good travel company. Support them. Get good clothes at a good price. It's lightweight. All right, guys, today's episode of You Be Trippin is brought to you by SkylightFrame.com. Now, Skylight Framed is a digital frame that takes kind of like this, like a book. But imagine this, it's a frame, and it's a digital frame, so you can give it to your mother. That's why she can keep track of your life and the things you've done, and that's what my mother has, and all the nephews, my nephews, her grandkids, and me and the siblings. We send pictures of places we've been because we don't want to call her when you're in Paris. Just say, hey, here, Mom, hey, here's a picture of me in front of the Eiffel Tower. And another fun thing is, if you send your mom this thing, she sends you a code, which you can send to all the grandkids and just upload whatever picture you have so you keep track of your life. It's actually pretty cool. My mom does use it, and when I'm in another country, I'll take a picture and upload it. A fun thing to do, though, is to upload a picture of your balls and just send that there. Just fuck with them. Doesn't say you have to be a nice picture. Skylight Frames doesn't decide what you find funny. They just let you go. So sure, upload a picture of your wedding. Also, upload a picture of something disgusting, a dead cat. It's up to you. Skylight Frames doesn't worry about that. If you're looking for a perfect gift this holiday season, look no further than Skylight Frame. It's a digital touchscreen photo frame that your whole family will love. Upload thousands of photos with your phone and watch them appear in seconds. And now, as a special limited time offer for our listeners, get $20 off your first purchase of Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/trippin. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/trippin. Get $20 off your purchase now at skylightframe.com/trippin. Legitimately, I also have one of these in my office in my studio in New York, and I have all my travel pictures up there. It scrolls through them. It's actually fun. It reminds you of places you've been. It's cool for yourself and for your mom, just in case you're an orphan. Now back to the episode. What are the meals like?
Food?
Not just the food, but also the meals. Like there's this thing in maybe Cambodia or nearby there, where there's this like king syndrome, where like you don't pour your beer, I pour your beer, you're a king. You pour my beer because I'm a king. Let me get you food. No one gets their own food. Yeah. And it's just like long meals with small bites. It gets everybody talking for like 2 hours. Like you'll be hungry, then you'll be less hungry, then you'll be okay, then you'll be full.
You'll I think by the time you leave Afghanistan, you would have put on like 10 pounds.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So the food is interesting too, because it's sort of, so we're nestled between China and the Middle East and Central Asia. So we have noodles, we have dumplings, but we also have rice and stews, lots of bread.
What's your favorite dishes?
You know, because I don't want to put on weight, I try to avoid Afghan food, but they're all very delicious. Yeah.
A lot of pitas, or is that just more Middle Eastern?
A lot of pita.
Yeah.
No, we have like clay ovens, and we have long bread called naan.
Okay.
But the Afghan bread is like superior to any other bread you'd have. I mean, I'm sort of unbiased, but I'm biased slightly, but I can be objective because I like different types of cuisines.
And you put stuff on it?
You can, but you tend to
just eat it fresh.
Just eat it fresh, or eat it with meat or with rice.
Yeah.
And you have it fresh while it's hot.
Yep. Oh, really? Yeah. Steaming.
It's like steaming hot. So we have soups, and we have, like very different parts of the country have different. Obviously, they have their own specialities.
Yeah.
But I think most people like our rice.
Okay.
Well, the most famous one is the one with raisins and carrots and chicken, for example, or meat with steamed rice. So it's called like that. Yeah.
Damn, and that's good.
That's like fantastic. That's fantastic. There's actually
with raisins, so it's savory and sweet at the same time.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
There's apparently a really good
Pulao?
There's a really good Afghan restaurant in Brooklyn somewhere.
Really?
And I read a really good review in the New York Times, I think it was, in the New York.
What's it called? Do you remember?
Or both. You should check it out.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try some Afghani food.
Or dumplings, put mantu.
So is it similar to Nepalese food, or nothing even close? No.
I'm not familiar with Nepalese food, but...
Afghan mantu, wow. Damn, that looks good. What's in that?
Well, you can have meat or vegetables. It could be vegetarian or not. And then you have a meat sauce with yogurt on top. Yogurt and garlic, basically, mixed. Okay. And mint, dried mint.
How are the meals? Are they like, do they go full hog, or is it just like...
people are very hospitable. I mean, if they have one goat or cow, they'll kill it for you and they'll feed you. It's very important to ensure your guests are happy and satisfied. And you need to have, they keep on like forcing you to eat more food.
Yeah. That's like Israeli for sure.
Yeah. And until you can't move. And... But people walk around, and because of the altitude, it's we don't have a lot of overweight people. But I think a lot of Western people, when they go there, and because they're always driving around, they tend to put on weight.
Yeah. I was in Vietnam, and they were like, "There's no." Was it Vietnam? No, maybe it was China. I forget. In Vietnam, and they're like, "There's no fat Vietnamese people." And I'm like, "That one's fat," and the guy's like, "That's Korean."
Yeah.
He's a fucking American Korean visiting. I'm like, "Oh yeah, all right." Do they have like regular Western food as well?
Yeah. I mean, you can get pizza, you can get burgers, you can get all sorts of things. People are interested and curious, so especially in the cities, and people have been because so many Afghans have traveled outside, so they have, you can get almost anything.
And is that what people eat?
Well, most people eat Afghan food.
Okay.
They feel more comfortable eating local dishes. But a lot of younger people go out and they go to cafes or they get takeaway. So
I was in Austria and my friend took us out to. She was like, "This is the cool new spot." And we were like, "All right, we're gonna get some Austrian food. This will be great." And she took us to a burrito place. And she's like, "Well, this is what everyone is eating right now."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, okay. This is the authentic. This is the real one, I guess."
But nothing is ever constant. Things are, people's what they eat in any country, in any culture, always evolves, right? And it's influenced by things from the outside.
Right. Yeah, the banh mi.
Right.
With the baguette.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not native.
So, but anyway, Afghan food is, I think what was one of the highlights of visiting the place. But you would also not, I'm sure if you go to Brooklyn, to this place in Brooklyn, you will also enjoy that meal.
You know the name of it?
No, but I can look it up. But
Yeah,
if you
all
look,
right, tell me later.
In New York or New York Times.
Yeah,
I
I'll
think
find
there's
it
a
later.
Review, yeah.
So hospitable. You saw Lone Survivor? The movie?
No.
Okay. Well, it's one guy in a troop. He's trying to attack a Taliban, whatever, and it's supposed to be based on a true story. I think it's Marky Mark. And they're chasing him, and everyone else gets killed, and then they chase him down into this village, and somebody's like, "Oh, we'll protect you," because they're like, "We have an obligation to protect a visitor."
Yeah.
Is that like a real vibe?
Yeah,
That's
Afghans are
pretty
very
tough.
stubborn, but very loyal. So, and a guest, looking after a guest and protecting a guest and feeding a guest, all those things are very important culturally to most Afghans, even if it means loss of life.
Wow. So if you're walking around, not you, but if you're walking around, you'd get invited over, or people would talk to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think
White guy like this,
Yeah, I think people are going to be very curious about you and ask you. And I mean, you could look Afghan. There are Afghans, who have, blue eyes and
Oh, really?
are fair. Yeah. And
Interesting.
and look it up.
Yeah.
But especially if you're an American, I think people would be curious and ask you questions. And
Oh yeah, I remember her. Who's she?
she appeared on the cover of National Geographic in like 1980 or 81.
There it is. Yeah, she became a big.
And then they had to find her. And there was this program where they attempted to see where she was, and they eventually found her again.
Really?
Yeah.
Ugh.
So the one on the that's her on the right. Yeah.
She had her nose blown off.
No, that's another.
Oh,
person.
okay. Ugh. How cheap is it?
It's very cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
I think people are going to take care of you.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll be spending too much money.
Okay, but I mean, like, not me, listeners, if they want to go.
Well, I think it's quite cheap.
Yeah.
It's quite cheap, yeah. Relative to the region, it's very cheap, yeah.
Oh, even there.
Yes.
Damn, interesting. Okay. How about bathrooms?
You better get used to a hole in the ground.
It's holes.
Well, they do have Western bathrooms and
Yeah.
guest rooms and hotels and so forth. But a lot of if you're in the countryside, it's either behind the bushes or in a
Outside.
Yes, or in a traditional outhouse.
Okay. What do you got in your house?
Well, we have most people have Western bathrooms.
Do you have one of each? You know how they have a bathroom? It's like a toilet and then a urinal. I could see them going like, "Here's a hole if you want it. Here's a sit if you want it."
No, we have we have a traditional bathroom.
Okay.
We'll organize one for you
Yeah. Okay.
if that's something that bothers you.
No, I mean, I hate using them, the squats, when I have to. In
But it's better
China
for
or
you.
whatever.
They're better
I
for you.
guess, but I'm just not raised with it.
Yeah.
So processed foods aren't good for you.
No, but I've heard of people not being able to squat properly and then slipping and falling into one. Not fully falling into one, but a foot inside. Or,
I mean, if your ass touches the top of that, you got to cut your ass off.
well, worse things than that have happened to people.
So who'd you hang out with there? What's your crew there in Kabul?
Well, I mean, Afghanistan is a place you make friends very easily. So we had our staff members, we had people in the government, we had people in the opposition, other journalists, foreign diplomats, visiting journalists. I mean, we were always busy meeting people and talking to people. I don't know. It's a place. You have to be very social.
Yeah.
or sociable. It was fun. It's still fun. I have not been back for 3 years.
Why?
Well, because of what's going on, I just thought, because if I do go back, it's just the optics. I have to meet with the government, and I just, I'm not sure how this government is going to be viewed in 10 years' time. It's better for me to keep a lower profile.
Wow.
But we still have 400, 500 people working there.
Do you ever get physically attacked?
Not outside. Inside the country, no, but we've it's in the book. I mean, we've been targets. We were targets for 20 odd years. We lost 12 staff members because of suicide bombers.
Hitting the radio?
One of our buses was attacked in 2016, killed 7 of our employees, injured another 15. And then subsequent to that attack, there were a number of other smaller attacks, and we lost another 5 journalists.
Specifically about your company?
The bus that was attacked the first time, we were specifically targeted.
Over what?
Because of stories we had done, and they viewed us as being biased and anti-Taliban.
Killed 7 people.
Yes.
And now, is that like a national scandal, or is it normalized?
It was a national. Well, it was a big story because we were a major TV network, and as such, it was big news.
Yeah.
But then, for most ordinary Afghans, it was a daily occurrence. There were attacks, and people were getting killed. So we were not the only ones. I mean, we went through what probably most other Afghans had to also go through over that period. I mean, Afghanistan has been sort of mired in conflict since late 1979 when the Soviets invaded.
Yeah.
I mean, today, relatively speaking, there's no fighting.
So 79, that means anyone in their 40s has never seen much of a peaceful place.
Except now, maybe, ironically.
Wow. Who's in charge now? The Taliban?
Yes.
With no Al-Qaeda or ISIS involvement, or is it just
ISIS is active, but obviously it's not a daily thing. They attack from time to time. For now, at least, it seems that they're not a major threat to the Taliban.
So it's just like a regional group, kind of like like a gang in the Bronx would be. Like they're not going to affect
but they're
my
active.
life at all.
But they've struck against targets in different parts of the country, in the north, in the middle, in Kabul. But it's not a daily thing.
Okay.
Whereas before it was a daily thing.
Jesus.
There would be an attack somewhere. So, and other groups exist, but it's hard to say how active they are. But nonetheless, an ordinary Afghan can travel freely because
with no one pushing them around.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to fear for his safety. Whereas before, if they had to go from city to city, they were always afraid because of the fighting that they would be targeted or attacked. But now I think people don't have that fear. So people feel safer today than they have for many decades.
Hi guys, today's episode of You Be Trippin is brought to you by PrettyLitter.com. Now, a long time ago, when I was graduating college and looking for a way to make money, I realized that I fucked a lot of skanks with diseases, and oftentimes asking them what diseases you have wasn't the best way to get an answer. And I thought, hey, what if they could piss on something, I could send them to a lab real quick, get an answer on what they have, chlamydia, syphilis, and so forth. Now, every avenue I went to said there's no market for this and we can't make any money off it, but I kept that idea going strong. There's gotta be a way. Well, Pretty Litter has taken that patent and applied it to cats. I said pussy. They said, fine, we understand. I'm like, I don't think you do. But the point is, there's money to be made. Pretty Litter not only covers the smell of your cat's piss, but it also changes colors to show if they have any sort of kidney disease or anything like that. Now, eventually, at some point, I'm going to realize my dream of being able to target skanks and find out who you should stay away from. But until then, Pretty Litter will help your cat with their diseases. I'm not joking. It changes colors to let you know that, hey, your cat needs to go to the vet. It's got problems. PrettyLitter.com. Give Pretty Litter a try. You and your cat will love it. Go to prettylitter.com/trippin and save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy. That's prettylitter.com/trippin to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy. prettylitter.com/trippin. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details. Now back to the episode. Wow. So the mood's got to be way better now than it was then.
Yes and no. I mean, I think the international engagement was very important for the economy. You know, when you have this many troops and the government was getting a lot of help.
Outside money coming in.
And you know, although the money went to the contractors and others, but filtered down to the ordinary Afghans as well. But today that's gone. So economically, people are they're worse off. But the other thing is, because of the sanctions, you know, the Taliban were a sanctioned movement. It's individual sanctioned. So when they took power, the country is indirectly sanctioned, which means that a lot of companies are afraid to invest in the country. And
it's a bad word, Taliban. You're like, oh, I'm a Taliban businessman. You're like, what? A partner? Like, here, you'd be like, what, are you crazy?
An American company wouldn't risk it because they may get sanctioned by the U.S. Treasury. So, but also the other problem is that humanitarian assistance, whereas before would be channeled through the government, like for example, the government has thousands of clinics through which you can help kids. All of a sudden, you can't do that through the government. So you have to do it through the NGO community, through the UN, which is very expensive because these institutions are very inept, perhaps even corrupt. So the assistance that need to reach people don't reach them. So the humanitarian crises is very, very serious. You know, half the population doesn't have food security. Like a third of the population, they don't have proper housing that's insulated, that can protect them against the elements. You have
and that's wow.
Like you have 3.5 million kids who are suffering from malnutrition, and you know, and hundreds of thousands of kids, you know, will have development issues as they get older. They don't get enough vitamins and minerals. So the country is not. It's in a good place in some ways, but it's not in a good place in a lot of other ways. And in a weird way, it's the Americans and Europeans and others who are continuing to litigate against the Taliban, but in the process hurting the Afghan population, which happens, right?
Yeah. Yeah, my friend went to Michelle Wolf, she's a comedian. She went to maybe UAE, I don't know, one of those countries where women are just like not really equal. And everyone got on her. She went to perform.
Yeah.
And it was like, how dare you? Why did you go there? And she goes, maybe it's something cool to show them like a strong, independent woman. Why don't we show them a version of womanhood instead of just saying like, I'll never go there. Like you're not actually helping by not going there. How are women there in Afghanistan?
Well, I mean, obviously in this environment with these new decrees, and you know, I don't know if you've seen these new decrees which have been issued in terms of women not showing their faces or raising their voices and so forth.
I like that. I like it, man. If we could have that here where they can't raise their voices, I'd be down. Not showing their faces, I do not respect that.
Well, but in practice, of course, women are active. They go out and about. They drive.
They do drive fine. No one looks at them.
I mean, I don't think a lot of women want to drive, but the ones who do have a car and want to drive, they can drive.
Everyone wears hijabs or not really?
No, you have to cover your head, but not face. In the cities.
In the cities.
It all depends in terms of how strictly they impose their rules by the local authorities. And, you know, the Taliban, like say the Republican Party is going to be different in New York to
West
California
Virginia.
to somewhere in the deep south, right? So some Taliban officials in some parts of the country have a more liberal approach to things, and some are more conservative. And so it depends on local implementation of these decrees and rules.
Oh, yeah, good point. I remember after COVID, I met a rabbi. It was very beginning. It was still before the shutdowns.
Yeah.
I met a rabbi, and he was like, hey, come by. You know, he knew me from comedy. And he's like, come by sometime when we open back up again. I was like, you're closed? It was like right before the shutdowns. He goes, yeah. And I'm like, why? I thought religious exemption. And he was like, well, disease doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not putting any old men at risk here.
Yeah.
But across town, they were like, oh, we're staying open. I don't care how bad it gets.
And they suffered, right?
Maybe. I really don't know.
Yeah.
But the idea is like, Jews do this. Like, no, this Jew says we're shutting down. Go pray at home. This Jew says, no, you still have to come.
Yeah.
So there's not like one. it sounds like it's there too.
Yeah, but you know, with any situation, it's never that black and white.
Right.
There's a lot of nuance.
Yeah.
And it's easier to paint a black and white picture of any, you know, all Muslims are bad, or all, you know, Christians are aggressive, or, you know, whatever. But even with the Taliban, you know, I think it is not that black and white. And there are people who are more pragmatic within the Taliban movement, and there are ones who are much more conservative.
Right. Can you get laid in Afghanistan?
If you're married, you can. Or if you're a Westerner.
Yeah.
Do people have relationships outside marriage? I'm sure. Listen, if you're talking,
not wholesale, but I mean, like, if someone like, I came to visit, I had sex the first day and the 9th day, just some random. Is that like what, or is that like, oh, cool, whatever? If you get laid in New York, that's not that notable.
Yeah. Well, technically, it's against the law.
Okay.
But I think that if you're caught being friendly with a Western woman, yeah, they would leave you alone.
But Afghani women's aren't.
No, I think that would be a bit of an issue.
Okay.
I would caution you to
not try. I have no game anyway, so
to resist for a week.
Do they have a problem with, like, some places are like, if let's say you have a girlfriend and you're staying somewhere, they're like, hey, just say you're married, because they don't want a boyfriend girlfriend staying in the same hotel room.
Well, I would think it's like the U.S. military. Well, in the old days, you know, they won't ask and you don't tell. But I think with Westerners, they understand that, you know, people have long-term relationships. So,
yeah.
And you know, people are content to leave you alone.
And that's you guys do it. It's fine. It's you.
Yeah, they'll probably volunteer to watch.
Do they get porn and stuff now? Is there any influx of, like, cool parts of Western culture?
I think that's probably one of the reasons a lot of Afghans get the internet
for porn.
It's a phenomena that's you know, it's consistent throughout the world, right? We had to create all sorts of filters because our own staff members would, you know, download things they shouldn't, you know, and
what do you mean?
I mean, they would go on all sorts of different sites, and we had to, like, block them.
When you say all sorts of different sites, you just mean porn, or you mean like crazy
gambling, porn, and things like that, you know? So, but
then block them, what? Because you couldn't trust them to do their work, or because it was evil to look at it? No,
because of work, and also, you know, you shouldn't be looking at those sorts of things. I'm not saying majority, but I'm saying there were instances with you know, young men would download things they shouldn't.
Did you hear that Elon Musk thing? He went on Uncontactable Tribe somewhere in the Amazon or something.
Yeah.
And he was, I'm going to get you guys internet. I'm going to get you guys what you need.
Yeah.
Out of the goodness of his heart.
Yeah.
And then immediately they're all watching porn 19 hours a day.
Yeah. Well, I had a really interesting, we had, so we did do a lot of work in terms of polio eradication.
Polio eradication, okay.
Right. And Bill Gates is a big funder of that.
God, he's huge with that. And the what's the one the mosquitoes give you?
Malaria,
yeah. There's no funding for malaria research if not for Bill Gates. He's like 98% of it. Yeah,
and it's you know, I mean, he's, to his credit, he wants to do it, but he also wants to be the person who eradicates polio forever, and he got very close to it. Yeah. So anyway, I was invited to a dinner. So it's Bill Gates and a whole bunch of people, like prominent Middle Eastern ministers and the head of, you know, McKinsey's, and, you know, and they go around the table, and no one's drinking wine except Bill Gates, and he's putting down these wines. And they go around the table, and everyone is like, let's go around the table and discuss how the internet's impacted you. And one guy says, you know, well, it's about education, sir. And they're all making these comments, you know, standard comments to impress Bill Gates. So, and I'm probably the last person to say something. So it comes to me. He said, what do you think of the internet and how it's impacted people, and say, in Afghanistan? I said, I'll tell you a story. One day, our head of finance, this gentleman probably in his 50s, comes in, he looks around, closes the door, sits down, he said, sir, what's a she-male? Because he'd looked it up on the internet. Right? Yeah. So you know, for a lot of people in these countries, the internet is all about that. Joe Rogan would love that. And he couldn't even pronounce it properly, and it took me a while to figure out what he was trying to say. But yeah. So yeah, I think, you know, it's you know, the internet's not, you know, we all thought, you know, 30 years ago the internet was going to change the world in a very positive way. Yeah. But even without the social, these social media companies, I mean, I think, a lot of,
Is there Afghan social media?
well, they're on
Specific.
Instagram, on TikTok,
they
and so
everything.
forth, yeah.
I wonder how that's changing this fucking very like traditional world to like, hey, you're part of the world now.
Yeah, kicking and screaming.
Yeah, it's like you can see it all, so you're in it.
Yeah.
Such a massive quick change.
But Afghans and others suffer from the same things, You've got fake news.
Yeah.
The Russians and the Chinese and others are obviously amplifying all sorts of like anti-Western stories. There's a lot of like
interesting, and they're reading those.
There's a lot of like there's a lot of hatred, along ethnic or religious lines that's amplified by these social media companies. I mean, the algorithms affect the Afghans as much as they affect you guys. So these fragmentation of this world is not. It's not just the Western world. It's also impacting people in our neck of the woods.
Wow. Damn. So people turning against each other.
Yeah. I mean, I think the good thing is that internet penetration is still pretty
Do most
small.
people have it or not really?
Well, either 42 million people, something like 8 million people
42 million people in Afghanistan?
Yes. Its
Damn,
population
that's huge.
Its population doubled from 2001 to until now. Its annual growth rate's 3%. It'll be at 100 million people by like 2060, 2070.
Annual growth rate. God damn. It'll be 100 million. Jesus.
Well, so they predict.
There's no space for that.
Well, it's the size of Texas,
Yeah.
so it's not that small, but it's not that big either.
Yeah. Texas doesn't have 100 million people. And it's so much of that is like that nothing land is all this shit. So
Yeah.
like, where's everybody going to go?
Yeah. Well, I think that's what a lot of people are afraid of.
Yeah.
We have Afghan refugees in Europe is a major concern.
People leave because they're like, I can't make any money here.
If you look at the map,
Yeah.
we're literally 2 countries away from Europe: Iran, Turkey, and then you see Europe.
Yeah.
So for the Europeans, any sort of conflict in this region is a huge concern. I mean, any European government,
Yeah, you're right. In Bulgaria or Greece.
any European government today, their biggest concern is immigration, because it will ensure that government's toppled if they're not managing it well enough.
Why?
Because of this hysteria
Mm-hmm.
about immigrants coming in, taking their jobs, or causing crime.
Did you see that London thing?
Yeah.
All these riots of one guy stabbing somebody, and it's like, every time they get you riled up, it's like you're looking at it in a vacuum. It's like somebody stabs somebody. Like, well, what's the national average of stabbings per person?
Yeah.
Like, is that lower or higher? But we're so geared on stories. You must do this in your shows too, where it's like the story goes so much further than statistics.
Yeah.
If they tell you LASIK eye surgery is so safe, it's got a failure rate of 1 out of 100,000.
Yeah.
You're like, no, my uncle went blind. Like, yeah, that's the 1 out of 100,000.
Yeah, yeah. Have you had LASIK?
Yeah.
I've had it too.
It's great. I got to do it again.
Yeah.
I think it's just starting to wear off. It's been about 8 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I stare at my phone
Mine's
too
still
much.
2020 actually. It's
Really?
been 10 years, yeah. But they said that the lens is thick enough that I can have a second one.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, maybe I can't have a second one.
you can have a second one. Yeah.
I got to look at it, see how thick my lens is.
Yes.
What a manly way to put it.
It's funny because I told my friend, he said, listen, I had this doctor who did it for me. And I said, I want a guy who's experienced. So,
Yeah.
and then he said, the guy's done 6,000 operations. So I went to see him. The thing I forgot was, if you've done 6,000 operations, you're pretty old.
You're 78 years old.
So the guy's
Yeah.
hands were shaking.
Like, nope.
No, I did it. Of
What's
course.
your last 10? Let me
Yes,
discuss
yeah.
rid of that.
But immigration is an important issue because it's about loss of identity, right? If your country is all of a sudden, full of people from a different culture, a different religion, what happens to our culture? What happens to our religion? I'm not saying it's justified, but these concerns need to be addressed. So it's also the case in the United States.
Yeah.
I think what does it mean to be an American, right?
Nobody breaks that down. What does it mean? So it's like, hey, well, this guy's come from here. It's like, it's weird. They're like, well, Mexicans should be conservative. Like, they should love Mexicans. They're Catholic.
Yeah.
Family members.
Yeah.
Strong family units. It's like, that's who they should want here.
Yeah. But it's also, so the question, what I don't get is that if you look at the economy, if you look at everything, life expectancy, the economy, education levels, it's never been this good.
Right.
But why are people so unhappy?
God, they're the maddest they've ever been. Everything's the best it's ever been.
And yet,
the lowest black unemployment rate in history. Black people are madder than ever.
yeah,
Jews have it more equal than we've ever had it. It's like I'm afraid everywhere I go.
yeah.
It's
But
fucking
but the question is why?
yeah.
But I think it's because we tend to not look at today. We always look forward, because most Americans see things not improving for the next generation, for their kids, and they think they're on top of the hill, and they're going downhill from now on. So I think there's nothing to look forward to, it seems. And if you look at the Midwest, and if you look at Middle America, probably past for the first time, the next generation will be worse off. And I think it's that mentality. And the other thing is, of course, we tend to worship this idea of America, Americans do at least, is that their ideal America, which probably was never that perfect to start off with, given your history with slavery and everything else, and inequality, but this idea, this myth of America, there's a mismatch in terms of what people see today and what they see in the future.
Interesting. I talked to a conservative family member. She goes, say whatever you want, but this is the only country where you can show up with $10 in your pocket and you become a millionaire, which I had heard since I was a kid. And then for the first time, I heard it again for the first time in like 20 years. And I was like, break that down for me.
Yeah.
You show up, you have $10. You get a slice of pizza for $1,
Yeah.
and you find some free water.
Yeah.
So you get about 1 day to find a job,
Yeah.
or you're homeless and unable to get out of
Yeah.
that fucking basket. What's this idea of $10 in your pocket and be a million? That's crazy. You can't afford. You can have $1,000 in your pocket and you're gonna fail.
Yeah, but Ari, let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
Why do you have to become a millionaire to be happy?
that's a great idea.
Right?
Yeah,
What happened to family? What happened to friendships? What
Happened to
happens to neighborhood camaraderie?
bro. This is when I fight with all my rich comedian friends.
Generosity towards when you're on your deathbed
Yeah.
and you reflect on your life, what do you think about? Right? And despite the obsession with longevity and living to 300 whatever, but this appearance of ours is very brief.
Yeah,
And we just don't enjoy the things we should enjoy. We don't care for our parents. We neglect them. We don't care. We kick our kids out at sort of 18 or 19. We're not particularly friendly with our neighbors. We don't even know them, right? In the West, I'm saying.
yeah,
And I mean, this is me looking back, with these ideas of modernizing Afghanistan and things like that. And I ask myself, what right did I have to tell people they should drive a car if they're happier to ride a donkey
yeah.
and get there in 3 hours? While they're on the back of the donkey, they can think about life and they can think about their kids. They can relax. This idea of this everything on speed.
You know that fisherman fable?
Which one?
There's an old man runs a fishing boat and he fishes all day and then makes money. And they're like, why don't you ever hire someone else to help you fish? Do you know this one?
No.
I'll get you out in 10 minutes. And then the guy goes, well, then what? He goes, well, then you could catch more fish.
Yeah.
He goes, and then what? He goes, then you could afford another boat. He goes, and then what? He goes, then you could catch even more fish with a second boat and keep going and get a fleet of ships.
Yeah.
He goes, and then what? He goes, then you can retire. And he goes, okay, then what? He goes, then you can do whatever you want. He goes, I just want to fish. I'm already doing that.
It's so true.
Yeah.
No, I think the materialism, which is a form of religion, this obsession with wealth and accumulation of wealth, of assets, it's one of the things that is so destructive. You look at Instagram.
I mean, I talked
Envy.
today with my friend.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not happy and I'm rich and I don't know how to give up a podcast and just settle on my family and my life and what's important. I was like, buddy, you got to write down what's important and what's not getting you there. Listen, if you get a contractor job for 3 days lifting concrete and they pay you $20 million, sure, do it.
Yeah.
But if it's a 9 to 5 for 28 grand a year forever, don't do that one.
Yeah.
So where are you in the middle of those two things?
Listen, people borrow, whether to go to university or to buy a house, and then you become slaves to your ambitions, to your greed. But most people are not like that. But they're brainwashed that you need to have, 3 degrees. You need to have 2 houses.
You have to, and if you don't, you're a failure.
You have to go to Aspen skiing, or you have to go to the south of France. I mean, everyone,
Keeping
has
up with
his
the
own
Joneses.
ambitions, depending on their environments. But people are becoming slaves to this. This American dream is one that's imposed on people in a lot of ways. It's a rat race that you're forced into, and you can't get off.
Yeah, now they advertise. They just push these ideas to you, like you're falling behind if
Yeah.
you're not on Instagram. You see all your friends taking vacations
Yes.
every single day.
Yes.
That's all they show is their best pictures. You're
Yeah.
like, I need that life.
Yeah.
But that's only 5% of their existence that
Yes.
they're showing you.
Yeah.
They never show you pictures. The people who have kids
Yeah.
see their friends with kids only in their best days. They don't
Yeah.
see their oldest son kicking their
Yeah.
youngest son and them going, stop
Yeah.
it, and
Yeah.
spilling milk. And, they don't ever show those pictures.
Yes.
It's always them with their hair brushed and
Yeah. So I think a lot of people in Western societies
yeah.
are not happy. That's why how many people take medication for depression in this country, for example.
So how's the Afghani happiness?
You know what? So years ago, I went to Pakistan, and there were a lot of Afghan refugees, including members of our family. We're talking about the mid-1990s, and I remember asking someone. I said, exactly your question. Depression. Do you experience people with depression, and how do you deal with them? He said most people are too busy surviving to get depressed. And if you look at depression rates in places like Australia, where I grew up, or Sweden, they're very high, because in a lot of ways life is easy.
Yeah.
I always tell my friends.
Life is too easy. You start. Yeah, go ahead.
I always tell my friends, the greatest gift you can give your children is the opportunity to struggle.
There's a fable in Judaism that God loves his creatures, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't want them to suffer. You have kids?
Yeah.
Okay, so your kid's like having trouble with something. You're like, let me help you with that.
Yeah.
They can't reach something on the top shelf. You're like, I'm taller than you. Let me.
Yeah.
I don't want you to
Yeah.
be in pain. So God loves all his children. So he's like, let me make it easy for you. And he just made crops grow easily.
Yeah.
He made plenty of cattle. He goes, don't worry, you never have to toil
Yeah.
and sow the fields because I'm just going to give you the crops. And they were like, this is awesome. And then within a short time, they're like, let's murder that tribe over there. And it was all just war. And he goes, oh, I need you guys to suffer a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of us deserve some suffering,
Yeah.
some form of suffering.
So what should people, let's kind of, I know you got to go. This is interesting though, and it does make me want to go to Afghanistan. What would you tell people? All right, I'm headed out next week. What do I got to pack? What do I got to prepare for?
Well, if you're going now, it's going to start to get cold.
Okay. It's mountain, so it's freezing.
It can get freezing, but it's nice during the day, especially when the sun is out.
Okay.
I think just go as you are. It's funny. David Cho, you know him, right?
Yeah, I just wrote him a letter yesterday. I want to be on.
So he
on
came to
podcast.
Kabul.
Really?
I took him for 3 days, but the only clothing he took with him were shorts, flip-flops, and a couple of singlets.
When I met him, he had a robe on and a red line down his head.
Yeah, ask him
And I'm
about
like, "Who
Afghanistan.
are
So
you?"
he was there. He did graffiti. So,
really?
No, but this is the funny thing. So the mayor's office, because I knew the mayor. I rang him up. I said, "This very famous graffiti artist is going to come and do some work." And so he did this thing on the side of the wall. And obviously, some people would say it's a valuable piece of work. Then the mayor the next day just repainted the whole thing. So he said it was so ugly. I said, "Yeah, but that's graffiti." Anyway. So David was there for 3 or 4 days. He traveled. He went to Panjshir and traveled around, but wearing his flip flops and his shorts. And I just told him, don't try to hug
Any women?
women, and be well, which he was. He was quite well behaved, and he was good. He got some local clothing and ordered some local stuff. And
Can you look people in the eye? Are there any problems like that? Like social dynamics you wouldn't know?
No, you can look at people.
Okay.
And, you can. People are very accepting. They're very open, and they don't judge you too quickly, especially if you're a foreigner.
Yeah. What sports do you guys play?
Well, the Afghan national game is called Buzkashi.
Yeah.
It's dragging a sand-filled calf from one circle into another circle, and
What?
it
A
is.
sand-filled calf?
It weighs about 80 kilograms, which is about
Is that it down there?
a couple of hundred pounds. And as you're lifting it and putting it in the circle, the other side attempts to stop you from doing it. It's like scoring a goal.
It's like U.S. football.
Yeah, you get whipped, and you have to be very strong to be able to hold it and pull it up.
And you launch it into this hole?
No, it's a circle.
Okay.
It's a circle. But
Wow.
yeah, like this picture. Yeah, this
This is the national sport?
is the national sport.
So
See,
everybody plays this growing up?
well, I don't think everyone can play it because it's you've got to be a good rider. You've got to be very strong. But they play football, as in soccer. They play cricket, volleyball, basketball.
Okay.
But this is the national game.
Wow, that's fucking cool. Damn, they seem tough.
Yeah, it's a. Did you watch Rambo?
Yeah. Oh, he played it in there.
Yeah.
Oh, was that Afghanistan?
Yeah, Rambo, was it 2? I think, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Oh, wait, YouTube. There's a video of it.
Yeah, get a video.
Watch.
Buzkashi, a famous Central Asian game.
All right. Oh, wow.
Violent tussle on horseback. In this episode, I'm going to explain.
The horses ever get hurt?
Central Asian game where
Must.
the
Yeah.
players involved, even the spectators are at risk of injury. This
What?
But these are amateurs. These guys playing.
Yeah.
So you got to find a video that has. Well, I'll send one to you.
Okay.
But apparently they say
Yeah.
that it's a leftover from Genghis Khan,
That makes sense.
and they used to do it with the bodies of their enemies.
No.
Yeah.
Damn, that's
a
badass.
decapitated.
And then play sports with it.
Yeah.
What a fucking baller move. Not just did we defeat you, where our kids are going to eat popcorn. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
So you got to get it. The dude fucking fell right off his horse.
Yeah. I think this may be in Central Asia. Well,
Oh. So it's all over the region?
yeah. But in Afghanistan, it's huge.
Yeah.
And I think the Afghans are
Oh,
probably
Jesus.
Afghans are the best at it.
God damn. They hit each other? Or they just
Yeah, in Afghanistan you can whip each other too.
so manly. It's
Yeah.
so manly. They don't give a fuck. They get, wow, you got to get right off your horse to pick it up.
Yeah, it's heavy. I'm sure this is in Uzbekistan
Yeah.
or somewhere, but the Afghan one is very heavy, and we use real calves. They fill it up with sand, they soak it overnight in water
To get it heavier.
to get heavier. So it's probably a couple of 100 pounds. I would
Jump
say.
off your horse and throw it
But
in.
the Afghan one only has a circle like
Yeah.
this, right?
In the middle. Okay,
in
on
the
the
middle.
sand.
Yeah.
God damn.
So you got to be very acrobatic to,
They must get hit, like trampled in
yeah.
their heads. They're leaning all the way down to the ground.
So it's a winter sport. So if you come in winter, you can watch this, and you can ski.
You can ski in Afghanistan?
Well, you have to walk up, but in central Afghanistan in Bamyan, it's fantastic. Do you ski?
Yeah, I love it.
So it's like
So you hike up and then ski down?
so a friend of mine, a Swiss guy who helped develop skiing in Afghanistan, said
Yeah.
to me, it's probably as good as Sapporo in Japan in terms of the quality of the snow, the powder you get. It's phenomenal.
Wow.
It's really high.
Untouched probably.
Untouched, yeah. You got to walk up for like a couple of hours. Or, probably people can arrange heli skiing,
But
but
no lifts.
no lifts.
Damn. No thanks.
That's
I'm
hard
not, I'm
work.
not walking up 2 hours to get one run.
One run, yeah. But I'm sure we can
Where you
figure
smoke
something
weed.
out.
You
Yeah.
get on the lift, you smoke some weed, then you ski down, then repeat.
Well, that's another reason a lot of people go to Afghanistan.
Oh, fuck. How did I forget about this? The weed and the poppy, the heroin?
Well, there's obviously opium's banned now, but obviously Afghanistan supplied it's like 80% of the world's opium and heroin. But hashish, Afghan black hash.
How is it?
Well, they say it's the best on the planet.
Fuck off, they say. You've never tried hash.
No, it's Afghanistan is known for its hash.
God, I got to get some there.
It's
Is it readily available?
It's readily available. Gold standard.
Coffee shops? They give it to you? Or where do you get it?
Anywhere, I think. You can get a big block and someone will give you a brick.
God damn. Hash is the best. People just like pull off a little bit, you roll it thin,
Yeah.
put it in a
Yes.
spliff.
Yes.
Oh, It's great, and people just break off a little piece.
No, here, because I think a lot of, especially...
Nobody smokes hash here.
No, but because of marijuana that people smoke is so strong, right?
Yeah.
Hashish has been designed to smoke, for the entire evening. And it gets you into a zone
Yeah. Yeah, that hash
that
high is a good
contributes
high.
to one's happiness.
Right. That's what you got to get.
I suspect that you may go there just for that reason.
Yeah. Would just sit down at a guy's place. So would the locals smoke too?
Yes.
Wow. So we just sit and get high with the locals
Yes.
and just shoot the shit. How's the English? Or
A lot of people speak English now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
In just the major cities?
I think everywhere. Because of the international community, Afghans are very multilingual. Every Afghan speaks like 2-3 languages. So
Oh.
they pick up, because you have your local language, you have the lingua franca of the country is Persian, our own dialect of Persian. So everyone speaks Persian, but they also speak local languages like Pashto and Uzbeki and so forth. But a lot of people speak English nowadays.
Damn. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, you're selling me on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, go talk to some fucking local Afghanis. Smokes hella weed. Smoke
good
hella
food.
hash. Eat some of that naan.
Eat some of the naan, some of that rice. Watch one of the Buzkashi game.
Yeah.
That's your itinerary for the week.
Okay. What should people avoid when they're there? Touching women or something like that. But like anything
Be
like,
respectful.
hey, don't. Okay.
Yeah, but I think be respectful. Don't lecture people.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, don't talk politics.
Booze?
It's illegal. But as a foreigner, I think that, I think foreigners at the UN and other places are allowed to drink but you will not be able to, I don't think you'll be able to find it in the
I don't
in the
need it.
market.
Just what to expect.
Yeah.
I would be fine getting crazy hashed up.
Yes, you will.
Especially with no peer pressure to drink.
No.
Oh,
And you sleep better.
yeah. And yeah. So you're going back? When are you going to go back?
Maybe
You
I'll
don't
go
know?
back with you.
Yeah, okay. Dude, yeah, get me settled. I always get so nervous when I go to a new place for a day or two, and then I'm like, okay, I think I'm ready. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm off.
You'd fly via Dubai
Okay.
or Turkey.
Okay.
So you fly Emirates to Kabul, to Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
You stay in Dubai for a couple of days or one day, and then you fly into Kabul.
And then just go from there.
Yeah, it's 2 hours away from Dubai.
Where's Dubai?
Dubai,
here, right here,
UAE, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's 14 hours from New York to Dubai,
Hang for the night.
24 hours rest, and then you go into Kabul.
I'm going.
And Yoshi will come too.
Yeah, Yoshi will come too for sure. Oh, that makes me so happy that I just thought it was like my opportunity to go
Yeah.
it's over now that the U.S. left. But that doesn't sound like
No,
the
I think
case
it's
at all.
easier for you now because you'll be able to travel more, whereas previously it would have been, it would have been a security issue for you to travel.
Because
from
I would be
city-
a target before. Like, oh, here's
Yes.
an American. Let's fuck with them so we can
Yeah.
fuck with them.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, you're not in Taliban or Al-Qaeda or ISIS.
Yeah, the guys who were going to get you before are now in charge, and they will welcome you.
Damn. All right. Well, this book is available everywhere now.
It is.
Radio Free Afghanistan, a 20-year odyssey for an independent voice in Kabul. Saad Mohseni. With some chick. It's Jenna Krajewski helping him write.
Jenna.
That's what I would need too. Damn, this is crazy. And you don't fear for your safety, or you do?
Well, not outside.
Or you have a walled guard? They have like
In Kabul?
Yeah.
Well, in Kabul, we used to have a lot of security, but the best way to remain secure is to not be that obvious, to not have too many bodyguards, to be very just low key.
Yeah.
The more security you have, the more attention you draw to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So, okay. I wouldn't go outside with a lot of money and flashiness. Not that I do anyway. Buddy, this was great. This is very interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ari.
Yeah. Congratulations on the book. That's a fucking massive feat.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Letting us DJ run your radio show is way different than actually writing a book. It seems way harder.
Well, it's a story of what we built.
The fighter turned media chief took one look at me, declared me a waste of time, and kicked me out of his office. It's a random sentence I just turned to. The fighter turned media chief. This is going to be a fun read. I'll read this. I get so sick of reading, like trying to catch up on all the books I didn't read in high school, and they're so boring. I'm trying to get caught up on like Fitzgerald.
But there's also
and
an
stuff.
audio version if you're lazy.
An earlier version? An
audio version. Yeah.
Fuck that. I can't get into that. No, I mean, you guys, you should.
Yeah.
But I want to turn a page.
Okay.
I want to do the thing where you read 7 pages and then you're like, oh, I've tuned out. And you have
Yeah.
to back up and like
Yeah.
actually read them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, what have I been thinking about? Saad, buddy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. I've heard about you for years now.
Thanks.
Cool to meet you. I didn't know
And
what to
you too.
expect. Well, you guys, that's the episode. Thank you very much. Saad Mohseni for coming in and telling me about Afghanistan. It's actually pretty cool. He wants to bring me there. And I want to go with Yoshi. I mean, listen, I talk about this sometimes. I talk about boots on the ground. And man, that's what you got. And that, I don't mean like in terms of like soldiers. I mean in terms of like showing you around. When I went to Hong Kong, when I went to Shanghai, I met the comedy scene, Beijing, the comedy scenes. And so I had boots on the ground. They told me the cool places to go. Not the Lonely Planet. No offense, Lonely Planet. I am looking for sponsorship. But I mean, to tell you what's actually cool. What's the cool restaurant that just opened up last week? What's the cool bar? Where can you go to get the cheapest hookers? Where do you go get robbed? If you're in Amsterdam, they tell you, oh, don't go to that one. That's a tourist one. The Bull Bar, the Bull coffee shop. I forget. And you should forget too, because the tourist one was shittier weed. Copenhagen has the best weed in Europe, and I'm not counting Spain. Damn. Radio Free Afghanistan is available wherever you buy books. Also, I'll tell you this. My special is coming out January 14th. Go ahead and open up your calendar in your phone and set a reminder. So it goes, boop, 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 and then you can go on Netflix and say, okay, watch later. Also, if you're watching, by the way, anyone's special, just let it play till the end. If you got to get back to it, just let it play. Leave the house and let it play. Even if you're done with it, just let it play and do whatever. Because then their dumb fucking algorithm only registers if it goes like a full watch. I mean, all the way through the credits. Just fix your fucking everybody. YouTube, everybody. Fix your program. Don't ask the artist to cater to the program. Make the program cater to the artist. Do what you want. I'm doing pretty well. My tour is on sale now. Lake Tahoe, Nevada. Oh, Austin, this coming weekend, sold out. Sorry. You can get standby tickets. Lake Tahoe, and then that's December 21st. And then January, first week starts with Pittsburgh, Providence, Nashville, Schaumburg, San Antonio, San Jose, Atlanta, Portland, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando. I know I'm missing one. Seattle, Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary. Edmonton and Calgary are almost sold out, so hurry up. Portland's almost sold out too. Adrian will be there with me for Portland. The Dark Queen. Also watch that, by the way, if you haven't yet. Watch The Dark Queen, guys. There's no bad reviews for it. It's just great. If you're looking for a special to watch, and if you've ever been like, maybe I'm misogynist, but I don't want to face it, I just haven't found women funny, this is the one to clear your name. It's so fucking good. And it's not even long. Mine is too long. I'm going to not, the algorithm is not going to be kind to me. Anyway, very interesting about Afghanistan. I do want to go there. I do want to go there badly. And he's going to take me. I don't know when I'll have time. I'm on the road till like early April. I definitely don't have time before that. And then I got like stuff planned. Maybe 2026. Maybe that's what I'll do when I'm taking off the road. By the way, no more dates added. So if I'm in this city, if I'm in one of your cities, I won't be there till, at least 2028. Except Denver. Denver, I'll come back because Denver, I'm doing a greatest hit show. It's not new material. It's the greatest hit show. We're going to write down all the bits and collect them, and then I'll do all the best hits I've had over the years, whatever you remember. Fun. We did it once before. Fun. Denver, I'll come back. Also, I'll come back. The rest, you're SOL. Stupid Orlando lover. Let's read a postcard. By the way, Saad did not bring me any Afghani money. Saad, send me some Afghani money from my wall, my money wall. Next week, I got Bobby Kelly on a remote podcast episode from Havana, Cuba. It's going to be pretty cool. And I brought some Cuban money back. And I'll put those up in the episode. And I brought a mask for my whites wall that you can't see. God, that was a fun trip. But we did it from Havana. One of the first, it's got to be the second one, right? No, Zane Jareski was the first one. We did it about Morocco. We did it from a hostel in Paris. That was a good episode. Have you guys voted for the Trippy Awards? Best guest, best trip, worst trip. Let's add that. I'm just culling these. The final one for the episode for the year will be a wrap-up episode. Just me speaking alone about everything. And maybe we'll do the Trippy Awards then. But, yeah, maybe. But maybe the week after. The next year, I got a bunch of them because I have to promote my special. So I got a bunch of fucking big ones. Gaffigan's coming. Ronnie Chang in a couple weeks. Bert, maybe, finally. Admitting that he never went to Russia. Never even been there. Never even been to fucking Romania, to be honest. Obviously, that's a lie. Let's read a postcard. So on my Patreon, patreon.com/You Be Trippin, people send in postcards. I don't want to show you the postcard wall now, but it's crazy. They send me postcards from around the world, and I read them on air, and then I put them up, and I'm lining my wall the same way I'm lining that White's wall. I'm also lining the what's it called? The background over there. So it's going to like fill up. Oh, don't forget to get his book. I mean, a 20-year odyssey for an independent voice in Kabul. All these fucking bitch comics who are just like bitching about how things aren't going their way in stand-up. Fucking, you know what I mean? And I mean, not even not their way. It's rich kids bitching about how it's not done perfectly. This guy's fucking risking his life to bring an actual independent voice to journalism. And Jake Hanrahan, too. Popular Front, another independent voice. Okay, here's one from Machu Picchu. We've been there. Joe List took us there. Peru. And I got another Peru one coming. About ayahuasca. It's a good one. You Be Trippin. 151 First Avenue, number 49. Don't write this down. New York, 10003. Whoa, cool. They've got the fucking stamp on it. Check that fucking stamp. It's with a llama. Fucking badass. Fucking badass. And this is a very good postcard. Look at that. Fucking cool. Get a little closer. Oh, I wish you could see insertion. Am I going to be demonetized for this? Look at him. He's having a blast. Look at that guy's face. He's having a good old time. Okay. It says Llamas and Machu Picchu. And then the translation is Llamas in Machu Picchu. And the translation is Llamas, Llamas, and Machu Picchu. One letter off. The average llama's dick is 15 inches long. And sex lasts around 45 minutes. At 11,000 feet, lasting that long is quite impressive. And the dick size is decent too. OE? DE? Could be OE. I don't know. Is that like a XOXO? Danny Cox. Well, Danny, thank you very much for the postcard. This is going up on the Patreon wall. Patreon.com/You Be Trippin. I'm going to start doing them with Colin Tyrrell. We're going to do them together. You Be Trippin. 151 First Avenue, number 49, New York, 10003. He sent this one from there too. Another fucking stamp. Some guys send it when they get home because you can't risk it, but I like the stamps. I say risk it. Look at that. That's fucking badass, dude. We got a light. And it's got Cambodia, and these people are there. I never saw that lady. I definitely didn't have sex with her. If you say I have sex with her, you're wrong. Unless she's never had a baby, and then you're right. I did have sex with her. It was fucking great. We took that hat off. If you know what I mean. We took the hat off. Siem Reap, Cambodia. Been there. Traditional Apsara dancers. Photo 2006. Okay. Hey, Ari. Love the new podcast. I'm out here in Phnom Penh living a chill life on the cheap. God damn it, that makes me jealous. In Phnom Penh. So I was in Phnom Penh once, and I my slippers, my slides that I brought out to Southeast Asia my whole trip. Guys, but you remember Ari Shaffir's Skeptic Tank? And I did these long intros, and they were cool. And then a fucking 20,000 podcast started, and then we're like, hey, just get to the fucking episode. And we kind of missed those. And I can't delay the fucking episode in order to give you this fucking rant, but I can do it at the end. I have fun. Some of you have fun. The ones that don't have to tune in. The ones that do will tune in. Win-win. I'm out here living. Oh, so anyway, I had these slides, these Michael Jordan slides that I got in Portland, where I'll be in March with Adrian Appalucci. Tickets on sale now at arishaffir.com. At the Nike outlet store, I got access to cheap as shit Nikes. So I took them to. I rarely wore slides, but I was like, let me take these to Southeast Asia. I'll need flip flops, and I never liked the ones with the fucking thing in the middle until I got Burt Kreischer's actually because it's leather. The plastic ones always cut. It's like here. They always cut. And then Burt's I got, but I got a similar pair of Burt's with the leather in Guatemala. And then I got another one in Montauk. The leather one's the way to go. But I got those Burt Kreischer free waters. Burt, I am your number one fan. I've brought your shoe to Trinidad and Tobago. I've brought your shoe to Ecuador. I've brought your shoe to Hawaii. I've brought your shoe to Australia. I've brought your shoe to a ton of places. But one place I did not bring it was Phnom Penh, Cambodia, because I didn't have them yet. And I had these slides, these Jordan slides. And so wore them all through Myanmar. I flew to Thailand, wore them all through Thailand. Met a chick in Bali. We had sex. And it was great. A bunch of times. And found some private beaches. Oh, that chick ruled. She knew a guy who was like a local Jakarta person. And so like her friend was trying to like hook up with that guy. So I just got freebies, bro. Hostel. Nice fucking villa. It was great. What a great time. And the sex was good. Cambodia. And then I went from Thailand to Bali and then to Phnom Penh. I think I flew from Oh no! I went to Bali later. Because I went from Bali all the way through the islands. This trip, I got to do a full "This Is Not Happening" story. Archivers Medium Storytelling Show story about my trip from Bali to Lombok all the way through there. God damn, that sucked. And then I went from Flores and Ende down to Kupang and then East Timor. Yeah, I took the land border, so I would not have gone back there. Yeah. So, okay, Thailand, then Cambodia. And from Cambodia, I went to Vietnam, got sick of white people, went to South Vietnam, then took a boat up back to Phnom Penh. One of those trips in Phnom Penh, I realized that my shoes smelled so bad, and it could not be saved. I soaked them in a bucket of soap. I mean, it was just like the worst cabs you ever smelled. Imagine them ass fucking each other. And I was trying to wash them, wouldn't work. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm in a decent hotel. No, it was the one night stay over because I was in a decent hotel. I never got the decent hotel. I know when it was. It was after Vietnam. I took the boat back up, and I was like, it's fucked. I mean, it's fucked. No wonder I couldn't get laid in Vietnam. I didn't get laid a lot, but I kind of fell in love in Vietnam one day. But my shoes stunk so bad. So of course, how's she gonna fuck me? Also, I think she was like 7. So I'm in there, and then I'm like, didn't work to wash them, and then I try to soak them, didn't work, and then I'm like, well, I got to find new flip flops. And so I went around, and they were like, oh, I think I'm a 45 European sizes. And they go, so let's say that's 11.5. And they go, well, we have a 10. And I'm like, well, that won't do. And they go, it'll stretch. They'll stretch. I'm like, no, not a size and a half. You can't stretch a size and a half. You can stretch a little bit. And that's also just shoes, not flip-flops. The base is what you want. The base is the thing, not even the things. Anyway, I found a Quicksilver store, which I later found to be a knockoff store. Bought some flip-flops, finally found my size because no one had my size at any of the markets. And it was like an all-day process. Found them, realized it was a knockoff when I got to Komodo Island in Indonesia. That guy who's trying to hook up with a friend of the chick I fucked, he was like, "You going to see Komodo dragons?" I was like, "Where's that?" He goes, "Near here." And I was like, "I've always wanted to. Where is it?" He goes, "Near a couple islands over." So I went. The bottom flap of my flip flop started coming off, and I was about to chuck him right in Komodo Island. And then I'm like, "Oh no!" It took me a fucking full day to find my size. I can't fix him. I got to fix him. I can't chuck him. I'll never find him again. So I found super glue and I taped him. I glued him. Did it a few times. They served me for the rest of the trip. Took him to East Timor. Took him everywhere. Wow, what a good memory. Dustin, buddy, thanks for fucking reminding me of that. Living in a life on the cheap. Heading to Chiang Mai, then Pai tonight. Dude, enjoy the boomers in Pai. Via overnight bus and train. Wow, you're going from Phnom Penh. Overnight bus and train. Wow, because Chiang Mai's way up there. And Pai, I think, is further west than that. What a way to get there. God damn, that's exciting. The overnight buses in Southeast Asia are crazy. I had some gay mishaps on those. Going to be good to hit the road again. Enjoy your future travels. Dustin Taylor. Dustin, buddy, this is going up on the wall, the Patreon wall. I got a Machu Picchu one and I got a Cambodia one. God, that's exciting. All right. Should I show you the wall? No, you'll see it if you're on the Patreon. Next week, Bobby Kelly is on the podcast talking about Cuba with me and Bobby Kelly. It's a joint episode. I have another one of these coming about Guatemala with somebody I was there with. We did that in Gold Coast, Australia. But that's not coming up for a while. Today's episode is produced by Your Mom's House Network. It's edited by Alan Caffey. Well done, I think. Don't forget, guys, Radio Free Afghanistan, Saad Mohseni's book. Get it right now, if you're a reader at all. It's available everywhere. I assume it's available on audiobook too, but possibly. And Saad, first of all, send me some Afghani money for my wall, please. Anything. Doesn't have to be major. In fact, it should not be major. If you guys are in a faraway place of a place we've been, please send it as well. Here's what I got so far. You figure out who I need. This is China during the fucking lockdowns. They put out special money. They put out special money with everybody in fucking hazmat suits. Kenya, did Monroe Martin, nominee best trip, I would say. Thailand, okay, that's where you're headed. Egypt, Bank of Scotland, Romania, Hungary. Is that Mongolia? What the fuck is that? Japan? I don't know. Mexico, Canada. I don't remember. Some of these Soviet ones, they really don't try. I don't remember where that one is. Costa Rica, have we been there yet? And Desert Kuna. What is that? Desert Kuna. I don't know. And the U.S. What do I got? I got more. I got more to put up, but I haven't put up. Next week, I'll put up my Cuba one. All right, everybody. Until next week, Bobby Kelly. Have a good day. Wait, where did we go? Oh. Salam alaikum. I'm guessing.